In this movie, a mother risks everything by traveling through time again and again to save her son. At the start of the movie, we see that a scientist has discovered the secret to time travel. By this time, science had advanced so much that traveling through time was no longer just an idea. It had actually become possible. Because of this, research facilities all over the world were desperate to get their hands on this technology and use it for their own experiments. One such facility was located in the USA. However, something went terribly wrong. Several test subjects from the past suddenly appeared in the present timeline and caused massive destruction, completely wiping out the facility. After this disaster, the head of the facility decided they needed more information to continue their research. To do this, he gave a dangerous mission to a man named Kui Hu. His task was to secretly steal all the data on time travel experiments from the Nexus Institute in China and bring it back to him. Since Kui Hu was already going through a tough time in his personal life, he decided to take the job, despite the risks. Meanwhile, in China, at the Nexus Institute, a group of brilliant scientists had been working for years to crack the mystery of time travel. The lead scientist, Tian, along with her colleague Dong, had dedicated their lives to this research. Finally, after years of effort, they had a breakthrough. They had discovered a way to travel through time. Soon after, Tian was ready to present their findings. She prepared a detailed presentation to share this groundbreaking discovery with the in charge of their facility, unaware of the dangers that lay ahead. Tian and her team had developed a groundbreaking machine that could break down human body cells into tiny pieces and send them through an artificial wormhole, allowing people to travel through time. However, there was one major limitation. Anyone sent to the past could only stay there for 2 hours before being pulled back to the present. Despite this flaw, Tian was determined to improve her invention. She was working on making the machine capable of keeping a person in the past for a longer period. After a long day at the lab, Tian wrapped up her work and headed home. As she stepped out of her car, a man suddenly appeared in front of her. He looked desperate and warned her to stop her experiment immediately. But before he could say anything more, he collapsed and died on the spot. Shocked and confused, Tian called the police. They arrived quickly and started their investigation. Although she gave her statement and returned home, the incident left a deep impression on her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about what the man had said and why he had died so suddenly. At home, we see that Tian is a single mother to a young son named Dudu. She had been raising him alone ever since her husband passed away several years ago. The next morning, despite everything that had happened, Tian returned to the Nexus Institute as usual. She pushed her worries aside and focused on her research, working closely with her assistant, Xiang, to refine the time travel machine. Meanwhile, the security head of the facility was secretly working against them. He sent a group of men inside the building, and without anyone noticing, they planted bombs in the basement. At the same time, the head of the project approached Tian, showing concern for her well-being. He casually brought up the idea that she should find a partner so that her son, Dudu, could be properly cared for. Then he handed her a small gift, saying it was for Dudu. It was a wristwatch, seemingly an innocent present, but Tian didn't think much of it at the time. Just then, an urgent call came from Dong, one of the lead scientists. He gathered the entire team in the lab to share shocking news. There was a critical flaw in their experiment. They had recently sent a monkey to the past for 2 hours, and while it successfully returned, something had gone terribly wrong. Its DNA had changed, and it was now dying. Dong warned that if they tried this on humans, it could be fatal. Before Tian could fully process this, she received a video call from her son. At first, everything seemed normal, but suddenly Dudu screamed in terror, and the call was cut off. Panic surged through Tian, and without wasting a second, she rushed out of the facility and sped toward her home. But before she could get far, a car came up from behind and rammed into hers, pushing her off the road. She lost control and crashed into a container truck, which immediately sealed shut, trapping her inside. The doors of her car wouldn't open fully because of the tight space, leaving her helpless. As she struggled, Kui Hu and his men entered the container. He stood before her, calm yet menacing, and made his demand. He needed all the research data on time travel. If she refused, he would kill her son. Tian tried to reason with him, explaining that the system required retina scans from her director and colleagues to unlock the data. But Kui Hu wasn't interested in excuses. He gave her an ultimatum. She had just 1 hour to figure it out. If she failed, Dudu's life would be over. Tian, panicked and desperate, called Dong while running toward the facility. She told him to stay there, saying she needed to discuss something important about their research. But by the time she arrived, it was too late. Dong was already dead. His body lay motionless, and one of his eyes had been removed and left on the ground. Just then, Tian's phone rang. It was Kui Hu. He coldly informed her that Dong had been killed by the facility's own security head, who was working for him. Heartbroken and furious, Tian forced herself to stay strong. She picked up Dong's eye and hurried to the director's office. She told him she needed urgent access to the system to fix some issues in their research. The director, unaware of the real real reason granted her access. Tian quickly logged in and started downloading all the time travel data, but before she could finish, the facility was thrown into chaos. Someone had found Dong's dead body. Within moments, alarms blared and the entire building went into lockdown, trapping everyone inside. As the facility went into lockdown, an interrogation began, and suspicion quickly fell on Tian. The officials believed she was involved in Dong's murder and the security breach. Meanwhile, Xiang, her assistant, went to the main control room where he found Tian. Desperate and with no other choice, Tian revealed everything to Xiang: the threats, the stolen data, and the danger surrounding them. She then completed the data transfer and removed the capsule containing all their research. Before she could escape, the officials arrived to arrest her. But Xiang, trusting Tian, decided to help. He quickly hid her, buying her enough time to sneak out of the facility unnoticed. Now, with the data capsule in her possession, Tian made her way to the location Kui Hu had given her. Upon arriving, she handed over the capsule, expecting to finally get her son back. But in a cruel twist, Kui Hu revealed his true intentions. He had been ordered to take Tian alive so that U.S. scientists could use her knowledge to build a fully functional time machine. To ensure she had no reason to resist, he detonated the bombs in the facility and, in cold blood, shot Dudu. Tian, devastated and broken, barely managed to escape, but the unbearable shock of losing her son consumed her. With nothing left to lose, she made her way back to the ruined facility, determined to do the impossible: turn back time. Once inside, she rushed to the main room where the time machine was kept. Ignoring Xiang's desperate attempts to stop her, she powered up the machine. The portal began to open, and just as Xiang reached out to intervene, Tian pushed him away. As the wormhole stabilized, Tian's body collapsed into it, and in an instant, she was pulled through time, landing exactly 2 hours in the past. When Tian travels to the past, she finds Xiang in the main room. Xiang is shocked to see Tian inside the chamber, but future Tian quickly explains everything to her. When Xiang goes to check on Dong, she discovers that the security head has killed him. This is the same moment when past Tian originally ran into the facility and found Dong dead. But this time, future Tian knocks past Tian unconscious and asks Xiang to hide her. As Tian prepares to leave with the capsule, she realizes that the security head is watching her. She attacks him and takes his gun. Meanwhile, the facility staff discovers Dong's dead body, but this time, Tian is not a suspect. She warns everyone that a bomb has been planted in the basement. Future Tian then goes to the meeting location and demands that Kui Hu send Dudu to her first, otherwise she will destroy the capsule. Once Dudu is safe, she hands over the capsule and leaves with her son. However, when Kui Hu opens the capsule, he finds nothing inside. Furious, he chases after Tian and once again manages to kill Dudu. Devastated, future Tian travels back in time again. Now, in this past timeline, there are 3 versions of Tian. Past Tian, the original one. Tian 1, the first future version who arrived earlier. Tian 2, the most recent version who just arrived. Tian 2 is becoming increasingly unstable due to repeated time travel, and Xiang is deeply worried about her. Meanwhile, the facility officers discover that bombs have actually been planted in the basement. However, defusing them is too difficult, so they begin evacuating the entire facility. In the next scene, Tian 2 calls Tian 1 to ask for her location. Tian 1 is at the exact spot where Kui Hu had previously caught up to her and killed her son. Before Kui Hu can reach her again, Tian 2 arrives in a car and crashes into Kui Hu's vehicle, giving Tian 1 a chance to escape. Now Kui Hu realizes that Tian is trying to stop him using the time machine. He immediately starts chasing Tian 1, but she manages to hide in an abandoned building with Dudu. Inside the building, Tian 1 gives Dudu the watch that the director had given her. But then, she suddenly realizes that the watch has a tracking device inside it, meaning the director has been involved in this plan all along. Meanwhile, past Tian regains consciousness in the facility, where she had been knocked out by Tian 1. Xiang explains everything to her about the existence of her 2 future versions. Just then, the director arrives and tells Tian to come with him. He claims that he can help by saving the data from both systems before it's too late. Kui Hu finds Tian 1 hiding in the abandoned building and prepares to kill her. But before he can, Tian 2 arrives and holds him at gunpoint. She tells him that another version of herself will soon travel through time to save Dudu. Hearing this, Kui Hu panics and runs away. Shui Hu then orders his men to attack both Tian 1 and Tian 2. During the fight, Tian 1 warns Tian 2 that the director is working with Kui Hu. Realizing this, Tian 2 tells Tian 1 to take Dudu and escape while she stays behind to fight Kui Hu's men alone. Tian 1 takes Dudu, who is injured, to a hospital. She then calls Xiang and tells her everything about the director's betrayal. Meanwhile, after defeating Kui Hu's men, Tian 2 heads back to the facility. At the facility, Xiang tries to convince the director to stop, but the director shoots her, injuring her badly. Tian, witnessing this, is confused about why the director's acting this way. The director then reveals his reason. The head of the project had planned to replace him with Tian, which made him feel betrayed and resentful. On that same day, Qui Hu approached him with a deal. If the director joined forces with him, he would receive fame and fortune. Desperate, the director accepted Qui Hu's offer. However, moments later, Qui Hu arrives and shoots the director, proving that he was only using him to get closer to Tian. After all, Tian was the real mastermind behind the time travel research. Tian Tu arrives at the facility and shoots Qui Hu, and with both versions of Tian working together, they finally kill him. Before dying, Qui Hu reveals that his family died in a plane crash, and he was once part of a U.S. research facility. That facility had attempted time travel experiments, but when many of the test subjects returned from the past, they started causing chaos, leading to the facility's shutdown. The facility had promised Qui Hu that if he could steal the time travel project data from the Nexus Institute, they would send him to the past to save his family. Meanwhile, Tian-1, who is still in the hospital, notices strange marks appearing on her body. She realizes that her DNA is changing due to repeated time travel, and she won't live much longer. Back at the facility, Tian-Tu points a gun at Tian, insisting that he should stay with Dudu and not risk more time travel. But then Tian-1 arrives and explains that both of them are already dying because of the DNA changes, so Tian should be allowed to live peacefully with Dudu. However, Tian-Tu refuses to accept this and turns her gun on Tian-1. In the final confrontation, Tian-1 and Tian-Tu shoot each other. Despite being critically wounded, Tian-1 urges Tian to take Dudu and escape immediately, warning that the facility is about to explode. Listening to her, Tian rushes to the hospital. When Dudu regains consciousness, he calls out for his mother. Meanwhile, before the facility is destroyed, Tian-1 makes a final video call to Dudu. With tears in her eyes, she says goodbye, turns on the machine, and steps into the wormhole. As the machine activates, Tian-1 begins to disintegrate into dust, fading away into the air. The movie Reset ends on this emotional and suspenseful note. I hope you enjoyed this movie breakdown. If you did, don't forget to like and comment. I'll be back soon with another exciting movie. Until then, take care, and thanks for watching.